Addiction is the epidemic of our generation. Every 4 minutes, people are overdosing in the U.S. Drugs and alcohol are tearing our families apart. The only way to combat addiction is through proper treatment and customized care. As people are slipping into the grips of addiction, nationwide Banyan Treatment Center facilities stand as the leader in providing growth through recovery. Addiction does not discriminate. Do not let yourself or someone you know become another devastating statistic. Call now, 855-6-BANYAN.
You know, I never know what I'm going to say when I'm asked to speak at something like this. And like Angela honestly told me, just talk. I like to talk. You know, but hearing the two speakers before me speak, like, wow, I'm like blown away because I've never had a child in the criminal justice system. I've always been that child in the criminal justice system. My heart goes out to you. It really does. I was 14 the day I decided to run away from home. When I left, I took all of my books out of my book bag. I filled it with socks and underwear, and I left. I had just turned 14. I was in the middle of puberty. I thought I was a man and had all the right answers. So I left, and when I left in full rebellion against everything that was taught to me at home. Respect, following the rules, upholding the law, don't do drugs. All of the things that my good parents taught me, I rebelled against because we got into an argument over a slice of bread. So when I left, I started drinking, smoking marijuana and cigarettes that day, and I liked it. And I did it every day because I liked it until I realized, man, like this is what I'm gonna do probably for the rest of my life, is drink and get high every day. So before the first month of me living out there on the streets, before the first month was over with, I got my first charge. I got arrested, possession of marijuana. I was a kid, 14 years old. I went before the judge. They suspended my license for 6 months. A couple weeks later, I got arrested again for stealing Philly's blunts so that I could roll my pot up in. Every couple months, I would get arrested for something different. I was a kid, you know, and I had left home, and I was too young to get a job, so I stole, I broke the law, and I got high, which is against the law, and so I kept on getting in trouble. When I was 18 and old enough to get incarcerated, you know, with the other adults, I had bought my mom, and by this time I was addicted to heroin, full out addicted to heroin, 18 years old. And so addicted to heroin, you know, once I did that, like I had to have that. So I basically did whatever I had to do to get it, whether it broke my mom's heart, you know, whether I knew my probation officer was gonna violate me. What if I get 5 years? You know, I really didn't care. I was addicted by that point. So I stole my mom's VCR that I had just bought her for Mother's Day because I still had the receipt to it in my wallet. I knew I could take it back and get the money back after she refused to give me money for dope. And they gave me 1 year with 10 months suspended. While I was in jail, I was good for a couple weeks. They decided to give me work release. They let me out on work release my very first day on my birthday. I thought it was a great idea to celebrate by getting high. I got high, came back to the jail high, and they ended up giving me the 10 months that they suspended. I didn't leave. You know, at 18, as soon as I was old enough to get incarcerated, I did for a year. You know, it was 19 before I was able to live on the streets as an adult. Every year since then, I was arrested and incarcerated. Now, mind you, when I was 14, because I got a marijuana offense, they took my license. So I never had a driver's license until I was sitting in jail in 2015. You know, I don't know the answer to the criminal justice system problem. We got one, I know that. I know we got a huge problem. And I don't know if there is a magic potion that could change the way the criminal justice system is set up, but I know what worked for me. And it was the program that you referred to. You know, it was a jail program. It was run by a local recovery community organization many of y'all are familiar with, the McShin Foundation. And up until then, nothing had ever worked for me, you know, because I kept on getting locked up because I suffered from a disease of addiction, you know, a substance use disorder. And every 56 arrests, every single one of them was related to drugs and alcohol in some way. When I think about it, yeah, some of them were stealing charges. I stole my mama's VCR because I was dope sick. But I never got any help. You know, I never got any help. They'd lock me up, they'd let me out. My probation officer violated me a couple weeks later. I'd get locked back up again. I had almost $30,000 in court costs, and I could never get a license until I paid that off. You know, so I was hopeless. I had absolutely no intention of ever becoming a responsible, productive member of this society because I was an outcast of this society, in my opinion. That's how I was treated. Into the McShin Foundation, this drug program at the jail I was at. In 2014, the jail that I was in, Pamunkey Regional Jail, out in Hanover County, somebody there had a moment of clarity and said, wait a minute, we need to do something to help these inmates. They keep coming back. It's a revolving door here. Most of them are here because they have a disease of addiction. So they let them come in and they let them do this program, and they gave me a shot of hope, you know, and I started believing in myself. And I thought, man, you know, if these guys that were suffering from the same disease I was were able to get out of it, maybe I ought to pay attention to them so I can learn that trick, because I need to know that trick. I don't want to come back here no more. I was 34 years old. I hadn't had an adult life. You know, 34 years old, I'd had some kids too. And while I was in the criminal justice system, I had to give custody of them up. They're beautiful twin boys. And I had to give custody up because I was incarcerated, or I was getting ready to be incarcerated again. So I was in this program and I listened, and he's right, I sat in the front row. I needed to know, I needed that answer. So I sat there and I listened and I got some of the answers. And I got out, and now what I do for a living, it's crazy that I do this for a living. I actually go into jails. I'm creating 2 jail programs right now in Virginia, and it's crazy that I'm A, clean enough to care about that kind of stuff, B, legal enough to be allowed to walk into a jail and prison and walk back out. It's a miracle to me. I still think there's an error. Somebody made a mistake, I think. I voted last week. I've never had voting rights. I've always been a felon. I've never had any adult rights. So the solution for me was a substance abuse program, because that was my problem. That was getting me locked up, my substance use disorder. So I needed to be treated for that. Now, I was locked up because I was stealing. But while I'm in there, my disorder was treated. And I haven't been back since. And we're coming up on almost 4 years, which is unheard of for me. To the families that's impacted by this, my heart really goes out to you. I said it once and I'll say it again, because it's tough. And I don't want to cry. So that's all I got.